Hello and welcome back to the coolest psychology project on the internet, Psych Passion. And I'm very passionate about it, believe me. And it's all about science and psychology and just really cool things. And I thought, how about we do a segment where every second week of the month I'll actually do an LGBTQ plus themed kind of segment, like yay, science, but based on LGBTQ plus themes. So let me know if you like that, if you're interested in that, and I sure am. And yeah, let's get right into it. Today's topic is going to be transgender people, and I think it's a really interesting, intriguing topic. And I would like to share some of the knowledge with you, and it's scientific, of course. So yeah, let's get right into it. I have tried to narrow it down to like some core aspects, so stay tuned. Let's start with the basics. What does transgender even mean? Well, to know what transgender means, it's important to know what cisgender means as well. Cisgender means that you identify with the gender that was assigned to you at birth. So for example, I would be cisgender, but a transgender woman, for example, is a woman that was assigned male at birth, and a transgender man is a man that was assigned female at birth. Now, your question may be, well, okay, but are these people actually real? Like, is this actually a thing? And yes, of course, this is a thing, and it is recognized by doctors, psychologists, scientists. It is a recognized thing, and it has been researched for quite some time now, and especially like in the last decades. Because we have to think, it's not like the phenomenon didn't exist before, but if society has a taboo, even science often can't look into that direction or can't research into that direction because it is not funded, and science needs funding as well. So only in the last decades, when people have become more chill about it and more accepting and so on, science was able to actually research it more. And then hand in hand, people have become more accepting, to the place where we are now, where things are better, but still not where they should be, of course. The phenomenon is definitely real, but how do we actually get the diagnosis of transgender? Well, that is a whole topic and on its own, and it's so complex, and it's also quite horrible because we're just not where we should be by now. But let's start. We get diagnosis from these really big medical and psychological or psychiatric books. For example, the ICD-10 made by the WHO. And this is maybe the most problematic diagnosis that we can still get today internationally. And it's transsexualism under F64. F64 is in the category F, which is literally mental, behavioral, and neurodevelopmental disorders. Being transgender is none of that. It's not a mental disorder, and it's really bad that it's still under there, and you can still get this diagnosis to this day. Now, that is not where science is at. Science is way further ahead than that, and psychologists and doctors fortunately do know that, but still, it needs to be updated, and we'll get to that in a second. But let's first talk about the DSM-5. The DSM-5 is a manual for psychiatric disorders, and it's actually used predominantly in America, and it was made by the APA. In the DSM-5, it's better because it's not transsexualism anymore, the diagnosis, but it's called gender dysphoria. And I'll read out to you what that actually means. It means the stress a person feels due to a mismatch between their gender identity and the sex assigned at birth. So what we talked about earlier on. And that is really great, but it's still under the category mental disorders. And I'm just there why? Anyways, in 2022, finally, the ICD-11 will come out and have a very big revelation. No, I'm kidding. And the ICD-11, it's been in the works for so long, and it's a follow-up version of the ICD-10, an updated version. And there, finally, we're not going to talk about transsexualism anymore, but the diagnosis will be called gender incongruence, which is literally the same as gender dysphoria. And best thing, it's under the category conditions related to sexual health. So even that, like conditions related to sexual health, not illness. Thank you. Okay, so we are depathologizing it. Yes, I said the word. And what does that mean? Like that word, it took me so many takes to just get that word right, and I'll never say it again. It just literally means stop seeing something as an illness and stop treating something as an illness. Thank you. It took us quite a few centuries to get there. Woo! Now, you might ask yourself, how common is it that a person is transgender? And this is actually a really, really hard question to answer, because it's not that easy to do research on that. Because if we, for example, want to make sure, okay, we only count people that are like 100% transgender, that are just, what I mean with that is like that are 100% sure they want to change their gender, we could only count people that actually have applied to change their gender surgically and legally. And you have to understand though that that number will be way lower than the actual amount of transgender people in the population. Because of course many people will just not apply because of many different reasons. But let's stick to some really, really good and certain numbers from this awesome study conducted in Sweden. Read it if you want to. There's a link in the description actually, and it's really, really cool. It was conducted by this person, whom I'm not going to try and pronounce, but thank you for the great research and thank you for having it as an open paper so that anyone can read it, because a lot of science you actually have to pay to read it. Why a study from Sweden? I could have chosen a country that I'm living in, or maybe America. Well, Sweden is very unique in that every application to change your gender is recorded, and so we have really good data of all the applications and ages and so on of the transgender people. So why did I actually choose this particular research paper? Well, I chose it because it has really, really good data, and it literally shows us every single person that has applied for legal change of their gender and surgical change of their gender from 1960 until 2010 in Sweden. I think that's pretty amazing, and it gives us some really good numbers. We have a big number of people as well, like 767. So we know that the data we get from this group of people is actually quite, we can have a good mean value, because if there's only 3 people and then there's one exception in those 3 people, it might unbalance all the data. But with 767 people, one person that is very different from the others will not unbalance the data. So that's really positive. 89% of these people got their legal name and gender changed and also had sex reassignment surgery. And I was quite surprised that the number was quite high, even though we started by 1960. After 2000, we can see a pretty big rise in the new applications. And why could that be? Well, there's many factors, of course, contributing, and the hypotheses are that, of course, society has become more accepting towards transgender people. Then, surgeries have become much better and safer generally. The care for transgender people has become better, and laws have been changed to make it easier to actually go through with the transition, because let's not even get into the legal process of all of this. It's incredible. Like, it's such a mess and so much effort for these people, and I can't even imagine going through all of that. Like, the mean time was 3.8 years to go through the procedures to actually get to your real gender. 3.8 years? That's a long time, and that is after applying for the first time. So you have already gone through a lot towards, like, to even get to that point, and then you still have to, like, go through all of that legal mess and all of those 100 things for like 3.8 years. I can't even wait for my avocado to ripen in the fridge for like 2 days. It is impressive to me, and you know, people saying that transgender people aren't real, or questioning how much of a trend this is, just try and think about it. Do you really think anyone would go through all of this and through surgery, which is no joke either, to get attention? Like, I'm sorry, but there's way easier and way better ways to get attention than this. Just think about it for a second. So, and now because we stepped into the area of controversial opinions when it comes to transgender people, let's step into the regret rate, which means that a person has changed their gender and wants to change back again. And in all of these 50 years that were studied by this study, there have been 2.2%, which are 15 people who wanted to reverse their gender again. And that's not many, definitely not, and it has decreased massively in the last 2 decades. Like first it was 2.2% and now it's literally gone down to 0.3%. We are nearly at the end of the video and you might be thinking, okay, but how likely is it that I'll ever meet a transgender person in real life? And well, actually I have 2 numbers for you. One's from the Swedish study. They say that 1 in like 7,000 will be a transgender person. But you have to think this is always on people who actually wrote an application. So 1 in 7,000 people. I googled, and this is definitely the least scientific part of this video because I'm just going to tell you what I found real quick on there. And they say you meet around 10,000 people in your life. So you're going to meet 1 transgender person in your life at least. Because the numbers, of course, change a little bit, so it's likely that you actually meet 2 transgender people in your life. Then there's the second number, and this is from other studies, and there they have actually asked people, or there's many other studies that have, of course, looked into this, and they all are a little bit different in their approach and how they asked, and they have actually found that more or less 0.5 people define themselves as transgender. 0.5 people. That's a completely different number. And why? Because 0.5 people means that every 200 people, there's 1 transgender person. So that is all for today. If you've learned anything new, hit the like button and maybe subscribe if you want to know more about all things psychology. See you soon.